Through my testimony, let God be glorified, honored, and praised, because it is only through His sovereignty that I am here to share this with you today. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. My father was an alcoholic for as long as I can remember. He spent most of his time drinking in the garage until he would pass out. My sister and I grew up listening to my mom talk about aliens and the shows that she would watch and how they created us, and we were their experiments. She actually believes that she was abducted, and she still believes in it today. She also believed in Indian gods, and she was fascinated by them. It was hard growing up to actually believe in God when you were pretty much brainwashed from the beginning and didn't even know if He was real. Growing up, I had issues with my anger. I was very short-tempered. I could lose my temper very easily. Wasn't very good in school. I was in trouble a lot for fighting, for bullying people, making fun of people. When I was 14 years old, I got hooked into the punk rock scene. I started playing in bands. I started drinking and I started smoking. Grew up hating people who would talk to me about God, hating Christians. I would argue with them, try to damage their beliefs. One time, I worked at a place called the Spaghetti Shop, and I was with my manager working one night, and she brought up religion, and I remember arguing with her. And I remember I got her to the point where she was almost in tears, and you could see the fear, and you could see her belief was just kind of crumbling in her eyes. And I actually enjoyed it. I actually smiled a little bit when I did it. When I was 16 years old, my parents sent me to a psychiatrist for my anger and for my depression. I was put on antidepressants. I was always told by my parents and by friends that I wouldn't make it, that I would either end up going to prison or I'd end up dying young. I was still drinking and smoking. About that time is when I got addicted to pornography. In 2001, I ended up marrying Amy, my wife, and I was still struggling with my anger. It was getting worse. I wish I could say that I never took it out on her, but I did. I abused her verbally, emotionally, and physically. We got a phone call at our house one night, and I picked up the phone. Later I found out it was Pastor Brian, and he was inviting us to the Christmas reel-to-reel. And when I answered the phone and he told me that, I was really close to hanging up the phone. I wanted to hang up the phone because I knew what it was for when he announced the church and everything. But something inside me said, don't hang it up, give it to Amy. And she came back in and said, I got us tickets to the Christmas reel-to-reel. And I ended up going. A week or so after we came to the Christmas program, Amy told me that a pastor was coming to our house. It was Pastor Brian. He was coming over to explain more about the church. He took me through the way of the Master and through the 10 Commandments. And of course I failed it. I remember saying a prayer. It was January 6th, 2007. I said that prayer, but I didn't mean it. I said it for my own selfish reasons, to get people to leave me alone. I just didn't mean it when I said it. It didn't matter to me. I started reading my Bible, and I didn't understand it. I remember reading it, and nothing made sense to me, but I would try. I started reading in John, and the more and more I read, the more it started making sense, and the more convicted I started actually getting. Amy had left town and went to Illinois. And while she was gone, my anger and my depression was getting worse, and I was losing it. I could feel that I was losing it, crying hysterically. It started getting worse and worse. I remember in my head, I just started telling myself, just end it. Just let it go. Just kill yourself, get it over with, nobody will care. And it would go over and over again. And I remember fighting it. I remember pulling at my hair, crying hysterically. I remember hitting myself in the head. And I just wanted it to stop, but it wouldn't stop. And then it just happened. I remember I was just done. I was broken. I couldn't take it anymore. And I just dropped. And I just cried out to God. I confessed everything to Him. I confessed every sin I could think of that day. Everything from the past to the present. And I just started laying it all out there. I confessed that Christ was Lord, and I just gave myself to Him that day. It was like something just let go of me. Life, it was over. That was the day that I was reborn. That was the day that I picked up my cross and I started my walk. That was the day of my salvation. I'm not saying that after that everything got better, but I had a sense of peace about everything. I knew that He was with me. Things started making more sense to me in the Bible. I was praying. I just felt a connection between me and God that I had never felt before. Since then, I've been freed of pornography. I quit drinking. I quit smoking. My anger subsided. I just know He's with me. I know He's there. Every step that I take, I can just feel Him there. For 28 years of my life, I never once put God first. I didn't even care. I willingly and knowingly spit on God's law. I was justified by my faith in Christ, that He was born of a virgin, that He lived a perfect life, that He bore my sin upon the cross, that He died for me and rose again 3 days later to take the sting of death away from me. My name is Chad Adams, and Jesus is my Lord.